Welcome to another edition of the Basketball Teacher Podcast. Our mission is to bring you discussions on a wide array of topics in the coaching world to grow players on and off the court. You can connect with us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, and also reach us directly through email at basketballteacherpodcast@gmail.com. Now, here's your host, Coach Mike Hernandez.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you guys so much for joining us here for another episode. As always, wherever in the world you're listening to us from, whatever platform you're listening to us on, thank you guys so much for the support as we hit year 4 of this show. I really do appreciate, as always, all the messages, tweets, emails, all the things that you've sent my way, the show's way, all the questions that you've asked, all the ideas for topics that you've suggested. It's been awesome, and I really do appreciate that. And as always, keep that coming. And today what we're going to get into is something that, I feel like more and more on my social media feeds, on whether it's on Twitter, Instagram, whatever the case may be. So much talk about players as they move to the next level when it comes to their recruitment, when it comes to, potentially transferring or trying to find the best fit for them. I feel like I see more and more news about players' decisions that they're making, or all of the thought process that goes into players making decisions, or what coaches are looking for. And there's so much discussion about it that it definitely is always worth visiting and talking about. And that's what we're going to get into today with my guest here, is the concept of guiding players to the next level and being somebody who can kind of mentor these young players through these crazy turbulent times here in 2024 about college recruitment, and seeing all the options that are out there and making sure that these players find the best fit for them. So as coaches, what I hope that you get out of this is that you kind of get a sense of what it's like for our young athletes as they're kind of navigating these waters. Also for coaches to kind of maybe get some insight on what you should be looking for a trainer, so that that your players are getting the right skill work and getting the right training that they need to get them to the next level. And for any players who might be interested, get you a sense of what it is out there, what it's like out there, and what really goes into making sure that you're ready for that next level if you're going to be a collegiate athlete. So without further ado, we're going to get right into it with my guest today, Athletes Untapped basketball trainer. Really happy to be joined by Coach Tim Howell today. Coach, really appreciate you being able to come on here and spend some time talking to us today. How we doing?
Doing good, Coach. Thank you so much as well. Appreciate the introduction. Yeah, I'm feeling blessed right now, man, and I'm glad to be here to, share some thoughts about hoops, man.
All right, Coach, let's jump into it first with an introduction to you. Talk to us about your basketball journey, your coaching and training journey, and where it led you to this opportunity that you have right now at Athletes Untapped. Where did your basketball journey take you?
Yeah, man. It's my journey goes back real far back to when I was really young. I've always loved sports, basketball in particular. I started off when I was 5 years old playing the YMCA. A lot of hard work that went into it. Found my love early, and I knew this is something that I wanted to be a part of, and I really put a lot of hard work and dedication to it. So I just wanted to see how far I could go with it. I'd say as I started continuing to develop my game, playing in the AAU circuit. I played high school basketball at Viewpoint School in Calabasas, California. 4-year varsity player there. It was a lot of fun. And then after playing there, started, had a pretty good career, I'd say. But I was under recruited. I always kind of looked at myself as an underdog. So I didn't really have too many big schools that were recruiting me out of high school like I had hoped. But through the coaches, my high school staff, shout out to Coach athletes that are looking for a travel team too. I'll give a shout out to them as well. Really go check out. But I was actually able to get recruited by a Division III school, Whitman College. Eric Bridgeland and the staff there took a chance on me. One of the best decisions of my life, not only for basketball, but just in life in general. That place really changed my life. We had a remarkable journey there, and really developed my skills there. not only as a person but as a player. And I was blessed and fortunate enough to have a special run with a group of guys and a brotherhood there. And also becoming an All-American in college was another amazing accomplishment
Yeah.
for me. So definitely was a lot of fun. And after playing in college, I was blessed and able to play at the semi-professional level. I played in the American Basketball Association out here in California for a year. Then I did a little bit of traveling and playing basketball overseas in London and in Belgium. And after playing in Belgium, I believe that was in 2020. That was my last season during the COVID year, so things were crazy.
Yeah, yeah,
I
right.
actually didn't actually have my full season. Season was getting going, had played a couple games, and then they canceled the season. So me
Mm,
and the owner, we shook hands and we moved forward. And I, came back down to the States. And that's when I kind of got into coaching, started talking to some of my former coaches. And they asked me if I wanted to come in and be a part of their staff. And that's when I started kind of bouncing around from different programs to coaching. And then through that, I made great relationships with players to this day. And players just started reaching out and asking me if I wanted to do training. I never really thought of myself as a trainer before. I always just liked to play basketball. But as I started coaching and I actually took a chance and started training players, one player grew to another, other players started reaching out, and I really started to take a liking to it. And I kind of started growing and started, becoming a trainer. And then now Athletes Untapped, how I am now, the platform that I work with now, I reached out. I saw something that was online for basketball training, and I, applied for it. And me and the owner of the app, we've been in touch ever since. Started making some videos and some content, and now here. I am, today working as a basketball trainer too, and it's been growing. People have been messaging me and reaching out, and I've been trying to get my name out there and trying to promote the brand as well. So it's been great. So that's how
That's
I am
awesome,
here.
man. It's what's really cool about hearing your story is, for so many guys, I've heard from who talk about when they play at, a collegiate level or a professional level of any sort, how sometimes it's difficult to make that transition when you're done because your game is so, or your life is so kind of wrapped up in the game and training for the game and playing for the game, and then eventually that
Hmm.
ball stops bouncing, and now you got to move on to the next chapter of your life. And man, it seems like from hearing your story that you were ready, right? Right when that move happened and you knew it was time to move on to whatever the next chapter of your life was, you were able to kind of pivot and make that happen. And I know that's not always easy for athletes to do.
Yeah, no, like you said, you hit it right on the nail with that. It really isn't. But the ball does stop bouncing for others, and I just think it's important when that time does happen, because it will happen for everyone at some point. Just knowing, you know, when it's time to, let that go. But also, there's so many other avenues that this game can take you. Like I said, for me, my journey, it took me across the world to get an education, and really develop me. And here I am today as a mentor. I feel like in a basketball trainer, as a coach, to try to guide young players. That's really what the journey was for me. Everyone's is different. Everyone has a different journey. They have their own race. But my advice to players is to don't let the game use you. You use the game
Mm.
and where it can take you. So
No, I like that a lot. Well said. Use that to prepare you, propel you to whatever's coming next in your life for
yes,
sure. Like that a
definitely.
lot. Coach, talk about your passion that I know that you have for personal fitness and that aspect of training. And I want to ask you about for high level basketball players, for players who have those aspirations of playing collegiately or beyond that. What should they be working on or focusing on in the weight room or in their personal fitness journey to make sure that they're physically ready for where the game is going to be when they try to play it at the next level?
Yeah, for sure. So before I get into talking about those things that I think the players should be working on, I'd
Hmm.
just say where my personal love and passion for that fitness came from, that started off from a young age. I've always loved just being active and being around sports. And PE was some of my favorite subjects in school. So I just really liked that. So I knew at some point I was going to be a part of something that had to do with, physical activity. And just it's good for your mind, your body, your spirit, everything. I was on a bike run with with my family this morning. So all of that is just gonna, just be great for your life in the long run. Whether you're playing a sport or not, I just think making sure that you're taking care of your body for your well-being it's just gonna be great, And
Yeah.
it's a good stress reliever too. I know some people work out to relieve stress, maybe, there's pressures of life, decompress, to go in another place. It's really good to, just to have that time,
Yeah.
you know. Now as far as the end is what the players I feel like should be working on to
Hmm.
try to get their bodies to the next level. I'd say for me and what I've learned with training, I wouldn't say I'm like necessarily like the best trainer. I think there's all types of training that works, just to find what works for you. I think that there's different things. I'd say some of the stuff that I've come across from other trainers and other players is making sure that you're in shape. That's a big one. That's the universal. Any program you're going to go to at the next level, you've got to make sure that you're in shape. At any program, So making sure that you are conditioning, you're getting your cardio in, you're running, right? That means running laps, running around the track, getting on a treadmill, right? Making sure you're in shape, because basketball is an up and down, up tempo game. So that's a universal thing. I'd say as far as getting your body right, not too much on the weights. I'd say as you're in high school, I'd say like a little bit, but I think
Hmm.
you can get to heavy weightlifting once you get to the collegiate, and then if you play on after that, because your body's still developing and changing. So I wouldn't advise too many players to start heavy lifting, weightlifting at a young age, because I feel like you don't want to stunt your growth. You don't know where your body is going to be at. So just like minimal weights. So nothing too crazy. Like I'd say get in that weight room, get on the plan, but nothing that's too crazy. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, yeah. Get that
just
good
to not
form and everything and make
yeah,
sure they're doing it right.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then as far as like basketball wise, making sure that you have a good handle on that basketball. Um, Making sure that you can shoot the ball. That's a big one, I'd say. Um, and can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry about that. I thought it just cut off. Yeah,
Oh, good.
I'm saying making sure you can shoot that basketball.
Yep.
You've got to be able to put the ball in the basket. This is the offensive game. So that I'd say that's a big key. If you can, there's one thing you could do is make sure you can shoot that basketball, working on your finishing. I'd say really like working on all the guard skills are really big, especially now when you look at the game today. As I watch a lot of NBA and high level guys, even the big men are playing like guards. You look at Nikola Jokic and Joel
Hmm.
Embiid; these guys are shooting, the lights out from three, a mid range, and they're handling the basketball. They're able to pass the ball, right? Having those guard skills. So whatever position the coach puts you in, to be able to be versatile and have those skills, I think is super important now. Because the game is changing and evolving. Even if you're a big, I shout out to guys, if you're blessed to be 6'6", 6'7", and be super athletic, make sure that you're able to still shoot that basketball and be able to handle the ball and be a guard too.
Yeah, it's
That will
funny,
go a
even
long way.
even even like 15, 20 years ago, growing up, it was, I was thinking of like the traditional big man, and I was trying to think back if I ever saw them really work on handles or ball handling or things like that, and I'm like, no, not really. They kind of parked them under the basket, and then that's kind of where they stayed. But like you said, now like everyone's got to have ball handling ability. Everyone's got to be able to have a couple go-to moves. There's nobody out there on the court who can't have a handle. They all got to be able to handle and move the ball around, no matter what size or what position you are on the court.
Yeah, definitely. So that those are some of the big things I'd say to work on. And you could do it is it's just getting the reps up. Whether you're by yourself in the gym, whether you have a trainer, whether you don't, just making sure that all those things and those skills you have, making sure you can pass the ball, you can handle the ball, you can shoot the lights out, you can get to the basket and create. Defensively, that's it. Everyone needs to be able to play defense, but
Hmm.
that's an effort thing. You know, those are intangibles. Those are a lot of coaches talk about, the intangible guys that that maybe that stuff that doesn't show up on the stat sheet. You've just got to you have that effort. So to me, I wouldn't, I don't really say there's much as far as defensively to be working on. I just say, like, when you go out there, make sure that you actually know how to, like, you're in shape enough to be able to move your feet and to guard. But all the other stuff defensively, getting rebounds, boxing out, hustling, diving on the ground, right? That's
Mm.
all effort. That's, the guys that are willing to commit to that. So, and that's also up your playing time too. If you can, go out there and guard. Not everybody wants to go do the dirty work. So, but
Yeah.
I don't think there's really like too much skill that goes into that. Those guys that, that play that way, that's just an effort thing. So
Mhm.
you have to make sure you bring that and have that.
100% agree, coach. And following up with that, let's on the conversation side. So you're training with guys, you're working with guys, and you yourself obviously know what it takes and what it means to go play at that next level. But when you're having those conversations with players and they're talking to you about, hey, coach, I'm looking to get recruited, I'm looking to go here and there for college, I'm looking to see what my options are, and you're having those conversations with players. What goes into uh the advice that you give or the plan that you make with them? How do you kind of look at each player that you're talking to and get a sense of, like, this is where you're at right now, this is what you need to work on, this is what you need to be aware of if you want to go to the next level? Talk about what those conversations look like with players when they come to you saying, hey, I want to be at the next level and I want to work to that.
Yeah, for sure. I'm glad this you brought this up, because this topic right here is something that I'm really trying to preach to the youth, and not only to the student athletes but to the parents, man. Because some of them don't have all the advice, and some are
Hmm.
misguided, or they just don't know, because how could you know about something if you haven't actually done it, right? Um, so I'd say for me, when I talk to these student athletes, man, and have these conversations, it's a process, because there's there's a difference between, talking to these kids about, hey, they say, I want to go play at Duke or UCLA, and I want to go to the NBA one day. And then it's like, that's great. I want to push every kid to try to pursue their dreams. But then you also kind of have to have that middle ground balance of, okay, where are you at right now, to how do you get, to reach those goals, and to reach
Hmm.
to reach that. And I think that's like the kind of like the hardest part, because you have to, you don't want to just completely tear them down, but you also want to be real with them, because that's to me is like the ultimate, the biggest thing. You're trying to prepare them and set them up for success. So when I'm talking to these kids about trying to go to the colleges, what's the best fit for you, right? It may not necessarily be ultimately where you want to be, or maybe not even right now, but what is going to be the best fit overall for you to succeed. And I mean that, on and off the court. So we're talking about, for a college, what does the college have to offer you, as far as academics? What majors do they have for you, right? Does the coaching staff believe in you? Will you have a chance and opportunity to actually play on that team and make an impact? Or are you just going to be a guy that maybe gets 2 or 3 minutes for 4 years? Are you a walk-on guy? Are you a high-level scholarship guy that, can go make an impact immediately in 2 years or a year, right? Those
Yeah.
are the kind of questions, that I ask the student athletes that I work with. Do they kind of want you, or do they really want you? Are you getting messages from these coaches every week, or are you hearing from them every once in a while, right? Difference between, do they really like you? Do they really want you invested? Or they just kind of, right? And, and
Hmm.
and so I think that's the biggest thing when I talk to them about that, and just try to figure out which schools do, and then which ones don't. And then, you kind of go from there, you pick your selection, so just finding that right fit, and also too, with finding the right fit, being open to all levels. There's so much good basketball out there. I think a
Yeah.
lot of people have this narrative of D1 or bust, uh, you
Yep.
know, NBA or bust. There's so many professional leagues out there. There's so many, there's the TBL, there's 3-on-3, you know what I'm saying? There's G
Hmm.
League. NAIA is a great level of basketball. Division II, Division III, junior college is growing. Guys are getting opportunities, right? So being open to different levels, because that, like I said, everybody has their journey. You look at all these guys that are at high level. There's guys making millions right now playing the NBA playoffs that started off at Division IIs, you know, NAIAs.
Yeah.
Everyone has a different story. So it's like, don't wave off all these opportunities. If you have an opportunity, um, you should be thankful, you should be grateful, and really try to see and capitalize on that. And you never know where it could take you, right? So just being humble and being open to it.
And I completely agree. The amount of opportunities that exist out there, I think what's one of the real cool things about, this era that we're in right now, I think, is that you can really kind of be more aware of all of the options that are out there and everything that's available because, you get these players. And this, I'm sure, these players that get out there on social media and man, there's just all this stuff out there about all these colleges, all these coaches, all of these, people that you can more easily connect to that you never were going to be able to connect to before. Like there's so much available out there that I think
Yes.
players should hopefully be able to easily take advantage of, and if they have the right mentors and the right like people in their ear, they can be pointed to the right direction. I think that's where people like you are so important, is because you kind of know like these are the people either you want to connect with, or these are the things you want to be looking on or putting on your social media or whatever, and
Right.
help navigate them through that.
No, definitely. And like I said, that there's so much out there and there's so many resources. If I had the knowledge that I have now at
Yeah.
28 years old, at that I was looking to get at 16, 17, man, I mean, especially with the social media now, oh my goodness. It's just that, and then, like I said, I don't have any regrets on it, but it's just like, it's a blessing to see that, and now to be able to share that, and for the ones that take it and use it, it feels really good,
Yeah.
to go see them get on their way. It's
So you
great.
you kind of you kind of touched on this before, and I wanted to ask you specifically about, you're kind of working with, in a sense, you got the players that you work with, but you also kind of know what college coaches are looking for, and you understand the game from that side as somebody who's played on it and is connected on that level. And I wanted to ask you about, in your opinion, what are college coaches looking for in an athlete? What are they looking for in 2024 that may have been different in previous years? I know college coaches are different. I know all college programs are different, but in your opinion, what are coaches looking for, you would say, in the present day in 2024 when they're looking to see if they want a player for their program?
Yeah, for sure. That's a great question. But like you said, every program is different. Everyone has different needs, but I'd say generally, just across the board, they're looking for high character guys who are bought in to winning. Um, Character is really big when coaching. A lot of guys think that, it's about the stats and you putting up 20 a game and all the highlights and that. That's great. That knows that you can play, but there's a lot of other guys that can do the same thing you're doing. What's going to separate you is, what are you actually about? When I was getting recruited by colleges, they're looking at me, they're asking me questions about my family. Um, you know, are you gonna fit the culture of the team? Culture is big at any program. Are you gonna mess with these guys? Are you a leader? You know, are you a leader on and off the court? Are you going to take care of your grades, academics? Or are we going to have to, coaches going to have to worry about, you being ineligible so you can't play, right?
Yeah.
Are you a clean cut guy? Are you going to do the right things? Are you going to represent this program in a high esteem, and in a good fashion? Are you going to be a role model for those other younger players if we get you on this staff? Are you going to build other guys? Are you about the team first, or are you about we? Are you about me? Right? I think those little things are, I'd say, present day, are what a lot of these college coaches are looking for, because everybody has to, I say, fit a role. Not everyone's gonna be. Everyone has a different role in a team, right? That's anywhere. Not everyone's gonna go in and get 20 shots a game, and and be the guy. You're gonna have the guy. There's gonna be some guys that are playing defense. Your role is to go play defense. There's gonna have a guy that's just gonna space the floor out. He's a shooter. There's gonna be a guy that's a point guard playmaker, and you're gonna have a guy who's gonna go out there and get to shoot that rock, you know, and average 20. But if everyone can buy into that, to their role, those teams I feel like are the most successful too. So being a team player and knowing your role within that team and asking the coach and being transparent and trying to find your niche within that team. I think that's big. So that's what I say, at least generally across the board, college coaches are looking for. At least at least from my experience and talking to other coaches as well, and seeing the recruiting process.
And I think what you brought up is a big important thing to consider for guys to think about is like they get recruited or they see that different colleges are interested in them, but then you also kind of brought up the idea of like making sure that those colleges and those coaches are also the right fit for a player, and for
Yes.
players to be aware of like what that coach's play style is or what kind of system it is that they run. And you can see that see the name on the college or see the coach that wants you, and then but then you want to make sure, right, as players that you're doing your research and thinking about, is this a system that works best for me? What role does that coach see me in that system? And is that a role that I'm willing to play? And kind of that idea, right, of like that conversation goes both ways, that as the coaches are recruiting the players, that the players also need to be doing their homework and recruiting the coaches as well
Oh
to make sure
yes.
it's a right fit, because it's a big decision for them also.
Big decision. I tell guys, all the time, do your homework, do your research, man. It's like in the classroom. The teacher goes and tells you, you gotta put the work in too. If you don't know about the program is like, what the offense they run, the defense, you're not taking visits, you're not asking questions, you're not asking about your role, what do they have to offer, what is my value, then you're gonna be left behind. And really, that's like the biggest part. Those are the guys I feel like that continue to excel. I always go back and make the reference, to like the kid in the classroom, right? Usually the
Hmm.
one that asks the most questions. People are thinking, oh, he's annoying and that, but those are the elite ones, man,
Yep.
because they're trying to get so much knowledge. How can they be better, right? Ask questions, do your homework, do your research, right? So, it's the same thing in sports, and that's a message I also would tell parents too. When as they're trying to help their kids navigate the recruiting process, talk to those coaches, talk to their kids, tell your kids to be vocal with that. Reach out, man. There's information that's out there, but you've got to be able to take that first step and reach out.
No, absolutely. There's, for players to make sure that they are fully aware of the situation that they get into. I've seen stories, I've read about stuff about players that get recruited, they go into college, and it's just not a good fit for them. And maybe one of the reasons
Right.
it wasn't a good fit for them is they didn't ask enough questions, they weren't really sure what they were getting into. But now maybe they've wasted a year, maybe they're behind more than they would have been
Yep.
if they picked a different decision. And just making
Yep.
sure that it's the right fit for you, because you want to make sure when as you hit that college, and as you go ahead and get started, that you're hitting the ground running, and that you're right where it is that you need to be, because college and playing in college is hard enough as it is, I imagine, and let alone if it's not a good fit for you or a situation that you're happy in.
Oh my goodness. Yes, like you said, it's like chess, man. You've gotta really think through it, and especially your first year, you're gonna go through so much, ups and downs, and you're gonna fail. But I
Yeah.
I say that that's not a bad thing. Fail as many times as possible so that you can grow. Always just try to be comfortable being uncomfortable. That's where you grow the most. So it's finding but being while you're failing and while you're falling and trying to grow and develop, it's good to have people to go, a nice supportive coaching staff and a program that believes in you to be able to pick you up when you do, right? Versus being a place where it wasn't the right place. So as you're falling and you're failing and things aren't going right sometimes, and you're trying to fight for your spot, and then you got a program that doesn't even believe in you, you're like, what am I doing here, right? So
Yeah, yeah. You're like battling everything at that point. You're
right.
fighting completely uphill.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So
Coach, I want to ask you about what when you're working with guys on in a basketball sense, you're doing training sessions with them, and you know these are guys who are ready to play at the next level, or they have those aspirations to play at the right level. What is it that you're working on with these guys in terms of the drills that you're doing or skill work that you're working on? What are some things that you're really focusing on? Again, I know it's dependent athlete to athlete, but when you know that okay, this guy wants to be trained to be at the next level, what do you kind of think about in terms of designing workouts for him?
Yeah, that's a good question. For me, like you said, it's every athlete's different. So I base some, all my workouts are not the same. But I'd say across the board for those that are trying to get to the next level, really just try to focus on, sharpening up their strengths, and then just the weaknesses is this what we really just try to hound in on it. The guy really needs to work on his shooting, and that's a low point. We're gonna tackle that, from the head on. Just getting up a lot of shots and getting up game like shots, game
Mm,
like reps, for their game. If somebody's really struggling with their handles or their finishing, we're gonna work on different types of finishes. Working on their handle, moves off the dribble. So I really try to focus on their weaknesses and try to improve them and make them into their strengths. And then for their strengths, those are easy reps. Once I know what a player does well, um, we just hit that from the ground running. Whether working on runners or floaters, working on the mid range game, or we're working on threes, step back threes, catch and shoot, whatever that case may be. That's usually what I try to do. I don't try to get too technical with drills. A lot of times is just letting them get reps and be comfortable, finding their game. I love players to be creative, and find moves that work best for them, as I train them. It's always a fun process getting different players I train, and because everybody's unique and different, and the different way to motivate them. But it's nice to you know, try to find what the weaknesses are, exploit them, and just try to improve them, get them better. So when that season comes around, they could be like, yeah, we worked on that, and now, you know, this is turning into a strength, and I'm confident with that. And then what they're already working on before, that they are really good at. That's easy. That's easy money right there. That's go get a bucket. They know what to do with that.
hmm
So
Are there in general, again, knowing that every athlete's different, but when guys come to you, are there things in their game that you think may have been overlooked or not taught well enough? Are there things in general that you think, man, like these players come in and they haven't in general worked on this enough, or we really got to get this up to where it needs to be because it isn't where it's going to need to be at the college level? Are there any trends or things like that that you've noticed where you may see that players are kind of lacking in particular in one area or maybe not where they necessarily need to be?
I'd say I don't really see that as much with the
Hmm
because I trained from youth up into to
Mm,
college. I don't see it as much with some of the high school college guys. Most of those dudes, they have the basic fundamentals, and usually with the training with those guys, it's just more reps and finding what works for them a little bit more. I'd say with the younger guys, you can for sure tell, when I talk to a lot of the parents, especially when talking with them about booking sessions, you can tell some of them just don't have the proper fundamentals. And so you got to hit that from the ground up. That takes a lot more time. The handles are maybe off. Some of them don't even have the correct form, maybe when shooting. So I'd say a trend with the younger group, but soon as like the 15, 16 above, and those college guys that I train are already ready, or about to go to college, I don't see that as much. They're most of them are already playing AAU. They're on a pretty good high school team. They've got that down. It's just about sharpening up some tools, and pushing them and helping them get those reps. So
Hmm. Yeah, it's that's great to hear because, I think that a lot of players, hopefully, with all the training and skill work and all the opportunities out there. I mean, you can just kind of see it watching college or professionally, just the skill level that a lot of these players have. It's really cool to see how, and as we talked about earlier, some of these players are just multi-skilled, multifaceted. They have a bunch of things, in their bag, so to speak, that, players maybe didn't necessarily have, even 10, 15 years ago that you can
yeah,
really see just the individual skill level of players, man. It's just a whole nother level.
yeah. It really is. It's fun. It's fun to see. Like I said, the game is evolving and changing, and seeing so many guys that can add different things to their game. But it's also cool to also see. I always say if you got a trick or a shot or certain skill, one thing you are really good at than just a bunch of other things where you're okay at, and you can go ahead and go cook with that and do well, I'd say
Hmm.
go ahead and do that. My college coach used to tell me, what is the one thing if you're going to a tryout, or you're getting looked at in an evaluation, there should be one thing that they look at your game and say, oh, he's a master at that. What is that crap? Like, the JJ Reddicks, they're shooters. Steph Curry, they
Yeah.
shoot the lights out that ball, right? You know, uh Chris Paul, the Tony Parker, they have a floater. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, a hook shot. Dirk had the one-legged fade. What is one thing you can actually master that I feel can also separate? If someone can't stop that, I mean, you're good. Obviously keep adding other things to your game, but having a go-to move or a trick, or something that you're really good at that can really, get you out there, I think is really important too.
Yeah, just to have that one that like that's what everyone knows, that like, okay, this is his move. This is
Yes,
his
that's
thing
that
that he
person. That's
does
what
really
they do.
well. I think of
Right.
that Allen Iverson crossover right away with that.
Yeah.
That's the one I think of right away. Like, oh, he's got
Yeah.
that's his thing for sure. Um,
Exactly.
what would you recommend for parents when they're looking for somebody to train, their son or their daughter? As you know that there's so many trainers out there, so many people who work with guys, so many skill development guys out there. It's overwhelming for me, and I don't have a son or a daughter who I'm trying to get into training. But these parents, invest in a lot of time, a lot of money, and they want the best for their player in terms of somebody who's going to work with them. So if you had to talk to parents about what they should be looking for a trainer for their son or daughter, what would you advise that they're kind of looking for, or what they're asking?
I'd say looking for somebody that number one, they have a background. Look at the resume, right? Anyone can go in and try to say, hey, I'll train your son or daughter with basketball and try to just get your money. Know what their background is, get to know them a little bit, look them up. Like I said, do the research. So, have they had playing experience, coaching experience, collegiate, professional, whatever the case may be. Making sure that's on point, and and kind of ask a lot of questions about what they're actually going to be working on in training. That's the first part. And then just two, just is that person going to actually, be able to push your kid during a workout? I'd say go evaluate, watch a workout, see how they interact with the kids. I feel like a lot of times with training nowadays, um, the good ones that get a lot of business and have people that come back are do the kids actually like them? Are they good people that they look up to, and do they feel like motivated? Getting those reviews from parents and those players, that is super important. You don't want to have a trainer kids working with, and the kids like, oh, I got to go to training now. Here we go. And
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's like, yes, like I can't wait. I get to go train, but with this coach, I'm super excited. I'm learning so much. You're having fun. This should be a process of having fun too. It shouldn't be like a job or, oh, I'm dreading this. It's like, man, like find somebody that you could actually, resonate well with, not only for your child, but that you feel comfortable, putting your care in with them. So I think those are some of the things to look at. Finding that right fit for that person, and that actually will believe in your kid and push your kid to the limit so they can actually develop and reach their goals.
It reminds me of kind of like AAU in a sense, right? You kind of mentioned how anybody could, become a trainer, or anyone could say that they are one. It's like anyone can start an AAU team or AAU club, but that definitely doesn't mean that they're all equal. You got to make sure you're
No,
asking those questions for sure.
have to
Yeah.
100%.
When you are talking to players, man, and I ask this, I've asked this to a lot of guests because it's just so different when it comes to putting yourself out there as a player now than it was even 5 years ago or 10 years ago with social media and the way that players can put together a highlight film, or the way that they can put together their social media and everything. It's a different world than definitely when I was in high school. So I wanted to ask you about, what are some things you think these college ready players, these players looking to go to the next level, what do they need to be kind of doing when it comes to their social media or their recruiting profiles? How do they kind of put themselves out there and get themselves visible in the best light, in your opinion?
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, the landscape has changed so much, since you've been in high school and myself. There's a lot of different things that people can do. I'd say as far as social media, uh, treat it like a job, right? Like just being professional, watching the things that you're posting on there, making sure that your social media is clean. Uh, I always say if it's something you couldn't show your mom or your family, don't post it. Just keep it professional when you're posting your things on your social media. Number one, as far as the basketball aspect goes, you know, I'd say getting a short 2 to 3 minute highlight film, highlighting basically what you do best in that film, showing your skills, your versatile skills that you have. Nice, quick little introduction. And I would post that on your story, and I would reach out. And this is kind of the recruiting tip that I'm giving out now, which I'm glad you brought this up because I wanted to
Hmm.
share this, which I'm actually trying to preach to a lot of young players, athletes, and parents as well. For the guys that are 4 or 5 stars players, they're going to be getting those offers, from bigger places because their name is out there. They're playing at bigger schools. It's easier for them in the recruiting process. But for those guys that are actually good players that I know can play at the collegiate level, that may not have that clout or that big name or that brand underneath them or that school to back them, I'd say get that highlight tape made, send out an email, send an email out to these Division 2s, Division 3s, and the IA schools, whatever conferences you feel like. Send out an email with your name, talking about your GPA, where you're from, just a brief little bio, man. Having those highlights in there, introducing yourself, and sending out your information and actually getting a chance to and click send, click that email, and then do the same thing to the next school. And I feel like the more that you get your name out there by yourself and being professional and being productive and proactive, I think that the more the success rate and the response rate that you will get from those coaches is going to increase for sure, because now they're looking at, coaches are going to respond. If you have the talent, someone's going to pick you up, someone's going to recognize that. But if they don't know about you, how are you getting recruited? You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's so a lot. I'd say, of course, keep training. Keep talking to your coaches. Keep having your connections, have your AAU programs. But just being realistic. A lot of times when you look at the AAU scene as well, and you see all these college coaches and thousands of players are at these events, you only see a few guys that are getting offers like that, right? Because they're probably the big known, big known guys, right?
Right. Yeah.
So for the ones that are under the radar, do the work, send it out. Even if you may not think you're interested, I'd say just to send it. Make that list of schools and conferences and send out your information. And I believe that that success rate, you know, will actually be higher by trying to promote yourself. Put it on your social media page, Twitter, whatever you have, Instagram, TikTok. I know everyone has different platforms, and get your stuff out. It's like a job, like a job application you see. You just never know until you press send, right? So just send that information out. So that'd be my biggest advice with that.
Yeah, yeah, that to what it is that you're saying, Coach. I mean, the sense that I get is just like you gotta be loud, right? You gotta be active, you gotta be vocal, and put yourself out there, because there's just so many people out there that are doing the same thing, right? For every, one
Yes.
player that's, doing all these things, there's how many thousands who are doing the same thing. And it's you got to
Yes.
be if you're not making noise, you're not making those emails or sending out those messages or putting your stuff out there, like you're going to be drowned out and you're going to be
Yes.
you're going to be completely, not noticed or not seen at all. And so I think that you got to just continue. It sounds like from what you're saying, just you got to keep being proactive, and just keep
Keep
putting yourself out there.
keep being proactive, man. There's so many. I have so many stories from not only myself but other guys. You know, even guys at the collegiate level. Some of my old buddies I played with. We're all trying to, years ago, trying to get looks from overseas and play in, and guys are getting opportunities, man, off of Instagram DM. Seriously, like literally, some of my guys I'm talking to is like you see them, next week they're out there in China playing somewhere, and it's off of a message they sent, man. You know,
Hmm.
I got to look once to go play overseas off of someone I played with in an all-star game. That's started my overseas journey from someone connecting me to someone who I'm also friends with, great friends with to this day. And how we help players as well to try to get them over there too. So, a lot of it is networking, that's why I try to preach to these players, man. Reach out, be loud, use your voice, be a vessel. Because it really can take you places, and you just never know who knows who, man. Who could really help you.
And to your point, I had a girl who she got a college offer. This was a few years ago, and it wasn't even from a college that she reached out to, but it was a college that she reached out to, said, "Hey, I don't think you're necessarily maybe to be the best fit for us, but I know this coach who was looking for somebody of your
Big.
skill set, got her connected with that coach, and then that was an opportunity for her right there." So,
There
there's always these sort of things that are happening too, where they might say, "Hey, not
always
for me, but what, maybe this person I know,
see,
because all the coaches talk to each other. They're all
and
connected too."
that, like you said, that's just that there's so many examples of that to that point. It's like, and you never know who knows. You could have a coach that maybe you were talking to and reaching out, and right now you weren't the fit, and then a year later they're on the staff at a school that's recruiting you, and because of you had that connection and rapport and handled yourself with poise, now you maybe have an opportunity off of, you get what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
it all of that stuff always comes back full circle.
Yeah.
I always truly believe that it does. Cause I have so many stories of that. That happens all the time. I hear that all the time.
Yeah, it's it's I think for a lot of people listening, what it is that you brought up and I brought up is that journey for these players as they go to the next level. It's very rarely like a straightforward journey. There's always twists and turns involved, and I think players, I'm sure, could get discouraged, or they can get a little bit frustrated about like how complex or how kind of messy the process is. But I think that that's just kind of normal, and that's just kind of how the process is with so much, happening and so much out there that I don't think players should get discouraged if they feel that there's, a lot going on, or it's not like a simple clean cut thing, because it very rarely is for players, I think.
Right. I agree.
With these guys that are so skilled that you work with, and these players who have these aspirations, sometimes there's very little that can separate one player from another, but there are certain things, coach, that players can do that separate themselves or just give them that little bit of edge, whether it's on the court or off the court. And I wanted to ask you about what you think those are. What are those, things that may not seem like a big deal, but actually are a big deal that can separate, one player from another? What are those small things that you think could end up making a big difference?
Yeah, I say for me, just making sure that you have something that you are really elite at. Like I
Hmm.
touched on
Yep.
earlier. Because, on the basketball court, everyone has their role. Guys are doing, it's great to not just have one thing and to be able to do multiple things. But let's be honest, not everybody is gonna be, have 100% rating and be the best at everything. So finding your craft and your tool that you can use, and for a fact that you're gonna impact that game. Whether you're a hustle guy, you're just going to be a defensive stopper. That's what you do. You can do that the best. You know, um, you're a shooter. It's like, all right, I may not be the best at handling the ball or playmaking, but if I get that ball in that corner and I catch and shoot it, it's lights out, right? So making sure you have, that one thing, or one or two things that you have that can actually, impact winning, and that you'll be noticed for.
Hmm. It's uh it's interesting that the you I guess to think about, players who I know of personally who are like good shooters, and then I was thinking about, as you mentioned that, though, I can think of one or two girls who are like great shooters, who are like really, really great shooters. And it's funny, like those players who have those couple that I'm thinking of who have that just great shooting stroke and real high percentage shooters, the amount of offers that I know of that those players have talked about versus like the ones who are pretty good or good shooters, it's a huge difference. And even if it's just, a few percentage points or just, that ability to maybe catch and shoot or shoot off the dribble, just that ability, I think, has probably led to so many more opportunities for those players I'm thinking of right now, just because their skill set is just, that much better at that level.
Oh yeah, for sure. If you can shoot the ball, I mean, you can always play basketball. Whether
Mm-hmm.
even if you're playing in an adult league, IM, whatever the case may
The
be,
YMCA.
YMCA, wherever it is, you can, you will definitely flourish, and they'll find a spot for you on the basketball court. That is one thing. Like I said, like you touched on too. I'd say shooting. Make sure that you can shoot that ball. That was one thing that I wasn't the greatest at. As a player, I did things good, but I feel like if I would have been a little bit more proficient with shooting, because I wasn't the greatest shooter, I probably would have even been even a lot better as a player. I have my strengths with it and too, and struggles with it, and continue to work and get better. But yeah, shooting the ball, some of those guys that just had that touch, man,
Mm-hmm.
it just that it opens up the game so much. You could do so many things. You
Yeah.
shoot the ball.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. If you can get that ball to go in, you're always gonna get noticed, right? You're always gonna get attention, and you're always gonna be
Always,
seen like that.
always
Yeah.
gonna get attention, man. Always.
When you work with guys who are on the obviously playing club at high level, AAU, they're out there, doing their thing out there to be seen that way, and kind of like with trainers, kind of talked about how there's so much out there in terms of AAU. I wanted to ask you about, the AAU scene and the kind of the club basketball scene in general, about, when you think about guys playing on those different circuits in AAU and playing on club teams, what sort of homework and what sort of research do you think guys should be doing on that to make sure that they're playing on the right teams, that they're being seen by the right people, that they can separate, this is a good club or AAU program versus maybe this isn't the one that I should be on?
Yeah, for sure. Like we talked about, it seems like this is a common theme. I keep bringing back, but it applies to so many areas. What our discussion's about is
Hmm.
finding the fit.
Yeah.
I'd say, you know, finding a club where you're gonna be seen, right? During the live period. What tournaments are you going to, and are there actually gonna be college coaches? Because to me, there's no point to be playing in the tournament and they say college coaches are here and you see zero coaches. So if you're playing on a travel team like that and you're at an event and there's zero coaches and nobody's showing up, I don't
Uh-oh.
think I that's just not productive. I'd rather you know what I'm saying, go another route about trying to get there. So making sure you're at the right with that program, there your kid is going to be seen, right? Number one. Number two, as far as the program goes, how are the coaches? Like, are the coaches actually good coaches, and are they actually going to play your kids? And look at the other players. Go to the practices. Are they the guys that just care about the cloud and are just trying to go chuck up, a bunch of shots? Or are you playing on a club team that guys are hustling and playing defense and playing team basketball and actually trying to win? Because those teams, I feel like more people succeed when coaches, if they're walking in the gym and see a team of guys that are selfish or the ones that are playing team ball, they're going to be, taking more note of that as they're seeing, these different players playing. So being on an unselfish organization, team basketball, team oriented, and having the best interest for the kids. That's a big one, I'd say, when looking
Yeah.
at it, and just in exposure. Like what events are we at? If you play on a team and all summer you're junior year, senior, and there are no coaches, I don't know if that's probably right. Or you should need to be asking some more questions and being like, hey, are we going to tournaments? Like, what's going on? So just doing the homework with that.
Yeah, as we kind of talked about things, kind of circling back to that idea, coach, of just for players of they got to be in charge, or they got to be asking the questions, they got to be taking ownership. I think there's so many great, hopefully mentors and people that can kind of guide them along the way. But for me, as I kind of think about our conversation as a coach, like I got to make sure. For me as a high school coach, that I'm empowering my players to ask questions and to make sure that
Right.
they are in charge of what is going on for their future, and that ultimately I can give them advice and I can tell them things that I would recommend, but they got to be the ones who are taking ownership of it. And I think sometimes as coaches or trainers or whatever, we can maybe try and do too much to guide our players and try and hold their hand through the process versus kind of letting them, like, say, hey, you got to go figure this out, and I'll be here to help you, but you got to be out there making things happen first, and then kind of come back to me for advice and we can kind of talk through it after, sort of thing.
Yeah, like you said right there, I think that's the biggest struggle I think I have.
Hmm.
Because when you make these relationships with these players, to me, I look at them as family,
Yep.
and their families, are like family to me, and I want to be there for them and help them. But sometimes, like you said, you can't hold their hand through the process. They have to make those decisions on their own. We're here to guide, have advice, but they got to make those decisions on their own, and they're going to make good ones, they're going to make bad ones, and we're here to help them through that process. But I think that's probably, like you said, they've got to be able to do the work and reach out as well, and be young adults about it as they're navigating through it. But I think I struggle with that. I'm getting better with it, but I think
Yeah.
that's a hard one, because I just want to be like, oh, just do this, go ahead and go
Yeah.
here,
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
But it's a process.
Yeah, like I want to just, for me, right? It's like I know that they got to see that struggle of kind of trying to,
Yeah.
make mistakes or stumble or, ask questions, get a little frustrated when they're being ignored or not getting the right answers. Like I want
Right.
it to be as painless for them as possible,
Yes.
but at the same time, it's like,
Exactly.
no, they got to build that skill set too, that perseverance and that advocacy and everything like that, because they're going to use that well
Exactly.
beyond basketball. So it's like I got to let them fail, got to let them
Yeah.
struggle a bit, and then
Mm.
be able to kind of guide them or reflect or debrief with them after, sort of thing.
Exactly. And like you said, that's the perfect thing. It all comes back to, it's bigger than basketball, like those life skills, like how do we reflect and move forward when we go through those challenges and failures. As much as we don't like to see the people we work with, our team, our players, our family, to fail, but sometimes it is good because you just grow ultimately. We all are. So,
Yep.
but that's the process for sure. But yeah, I
Definitely.
love that you touched on that.
All right, coach. That's crazy. This hour flew by. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit you with the last couple questions that I ask every guest, starting with this first one, which is, coach, thinking back on a moment from your training or from your coaching career, playing career, whatever the case may be, from your career in general. What is a moment from your career that you went through that you think by sharing it, our listeners would be able to learn from?
Yeah, for sure. I'd say for me, right after um right after I got out of college, I everything was seemed like it was going well. Uh, I was an All American. Team was one of the top for our division in the country. Uh, everybody was pushing me and guiding me. I'm training to try to reach my goals and reach my dreams to go play professionally. And that summer after college, I thought it was going to be super easy. I went through a lot of failures, failed agents, going to tryouts, combines, nothing, man. And I remember being at the gym, um, training. I used to get up at 5 a.m. in the morning training, at the 24-hour fitness, and just I remember getting there in the morning, doing my morning routine, and afterwards I just hit a moment where I just stopped. I took my shoes off, I put it in my backpack, I got in the car, and I went home. And it was
Mm.
super sad. I almost cried. I think I did actually, because I wasn't getting any offers, I wasn't getting any looks, man. I was like, is this really, you know, for me? And I had a moment of realization after that, and debriefed, reflected, and after that, I told myself, you know what, like I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to give up. So be persistent. And you know, it's all in the timing. I always say I'm religious. I always say it's in God's timing, and I had to trust the process and the timing, just like everything else. And I got back up and, the next day, kept working, got to the gym. And literally probably within the next month or so, after, some tough decisions and some talking to different people, I got my first professional opportunity. And I was super thankful for it. And I just say all that to say, I just look back and imagine where I would have been if I would have just gave up and just said, you know what, I'm going to stop. I probably wouldn't even be here talking to you today about my journey and trying to help other, young athletes out there. So, if you have some dreams, I'd say to keep following it. And sometimes your dreams are going to take you to different places, and you can still achieve them, but you've got to be persistent. You've got to be hungry. You've got to have the work ethic, and you've got to be a loud vessel, and put the work in. And like I said, from that moment, I had to amp it up a bit, and I did, and started, talking to more people, getting my name out there. And, I made that happen. And, with the people supporting me around me, I'm supporting it. So
that's
I'd say,
fantastic. Yeah. Perseverance, coach. That sounds like, man, just keep going. Keep going.
yeah,
Yeah.
just keep going, man. That's the biggest thing. And, you can't do it all by yourself. I always say
No.
it takes a village. Like I said, got the man above me. I've had great mentors, coaches, family, friends that have all been with me during this journey. And I thank them so much for everything they've done and continue to do. And that's the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing now, trying to get back. So
Awesome. No, I appreciate you sharing, and it's great what you're doing, coach. To wrap up, coach, I give every guest what I call a 60-second soapbox. It's kind of your platform to kind of get out a final thought, a final message, something that you want to just close and leave the listeners with. You can go over 60 seconds if you want, and I ain't going to time you, and you can take it any direction you want to take it with basketball, coach, in life, whatever it is that you want, coach. It's your soapbox, coach. I'm going to let you take it from here and let you get out whatever that thought is.
okay, yeah, thank you so much.
Hmm.
Man, I'd say for the listeners out there, really just making sure that you guys are continuing to persevere. Life is gonna, present challenges and struggles and adversity, but it's all about how we overcome those. And I think that that's super important. Making sure you have the right team around you, family, friends, your faith, whatever you have, making sure you're surrounded by love. Iron sharpens iron. Be with people that are going to push you to your limits, good people that are going to help you to achieve your goals. Inspire people, be inspired by others, and also look to inspire others as well. That's how this thing continues to keep working. And for those young student athletes out there, keep on putting in that work, what you guys are doing, and please do your homework. Do your homework and try to find the right fit for you, wherever that fit will be. Find the right fit for you. And, there's life beyond basketball as well. Find your passions and journeys. It can take you wherever. It can take you to so many different places. So really try to find those passions and, don't let this game use you. You use this game as a vehicle to get you to your next journey. So that's what I say.
That was great. Well said, Coach. I really appreciate you sharing that. What a great message to leave off with. Coach Howell, really want to thank you for coming on here, talking about training, talking about next level, talking about all the advice that you would give to athletes on and off the court so that they're ready for wherever the next level takes them. As you and I said, it's a big journey. It's a much different journey than it was even just a few years ago. So this was an important conversation. I'm glad that we were able to have it. Best of luck, coach, as you continue with your training, your coaching, and everything that you're doing for the basketball game. Really appreciate you coming on. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much too. And I thank you so much for reaching out and having me on here too. For this talk was amazing. And I wish you the best of success. And I love what you're doing on your platform, and just to keep going and keep inspiring and helping others. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much, everyone, for listening. This was another edition of the Basketball Teacher Podcast. We will see you guys next time.
Thank you for listening to another edition of the Basketball Teacher Podcast. Make sure to connect with us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, or reach us directly through email at basketballteacherpodcast@gmail.com. Take care, be safe, and we'll see you next time.